everyone, I hope this video is finding you well. Today we are doing a super exciting video, or at least it's super exciting for me. We are going to be talking about this. I finally picked up the Pat McGrath Mothership 5 Bronze Seduction palette, and oh my god, has this been long awaited. As soon as I saw this was released, it's just so gorgeous, but I could never justify that price. And I recently just finished my degree at uni, so I thought, you know what, I am going to treat myself to this, and I'm so glad that I did. Now, a little bit about this palette. I know a lot of you probably know all about Pat McGrath. You probably use Pat McGrath, love it. But if you don't know, these Mothership palettes retail for 195 Australian dollars, which is scary. It works out to be $19.50 Australian per shade, which when you work it out that way, it doesn't seem too crazy, but it's just a lot of money to put into a palette at one time. Each of her Mothership palettes comes in this gorgeous cardboard packaging. It has the most beautiful artwork on there, and you just untie this little thing here, open it up, and your palette just sits inside like that. So this is what the packaging looks like of the actual palette. It's got that beautiful lacquered black front with the little Pat McGrath logo, and on the back it's sort of like this mirrored gold. It has all the details on there, but this is what the colors look like. You can see I've already had a really good play. I've had this for about 2 weeks now, and I've just been trialing it out because I wanted to give you guys a really in-depth review. I didn't just want to do a first impressions. I wanted to tell you guys, all the tea about this palette. So even though this is called the Bronze Seduction palette, it is by no means just a bronze palette. You got so many gorgeous different tones in here that you can create a variety of looks with. You got the bold red, you got the rose gold, the purples, the iridescent shades up here. So yeah, it's really not just a bronze palette. You can do so many more fun looks with it. But now I'm gonna get into the swatches so you can see this gorgeousness all up close. To begin with, we have Skin Show Divine Glow, then Entrapment, which is the matte shade. I'm just going to swatch that one again because it's a little bit patchy when you swatch it. Then we have Bronze Blaze, Rose Gold 005, which is my favourite colour in the palette. We have VR Fire Opal, which is one of the duochromes. Astral Lunar Gold. Then we have Blitz Flame, another one of my favourites. Then we have Disobedient. This one again, I'm just going to layer up a little bit. Then we have Guilty Pleasure, which is on the sheerer side. So I'm just going to do another layer of that. Then lastly, Extreme Aubergine. And that's all the swatches there. You can see how beautifully all the colours pair together. So I also just wanted to do some comparison swatches between the Bronze Seduction palette and the Bronze Temptation palette. So first we have Entrapment, and then Burning Desire, Disobedient, and Dark Paradise. Then lastly, Bronze Blaze and Provocatrix. So they're all similar but not the same. So regarding my thoughts to the palette, I know a lot of you guys are probably wondering, is it worth the price? And I have to say I really think it is, but that comes with a couple of caveats as well. For me, I think it's worth it because I love eyeshadow, I love playing up my eyes, and I love these warm sort of tones. I can get a ton of different looks out of this. I feel comfortable using these shades. I love the mattes, I love the shimmers. I can just look at this palette and I'm just inspired. I think this palette might be a bit intimidating for someone who's a beginner, not just because of the tones, but because of the formula. So these colors are by no means difficult to work with. I just think that they require a little bit of experience with eyeshadow before just jumping into this formula. Because these colors pack such a punch, you do need to be comfortable with layering and blending and all that before just going into this, because the intensity of the shadows might like scare you off. They're really, really punchy. I think the mattes in here, they're so buttery smooth. They blend out like a dream. When you swatch them, you can feel how silky they are. They're really, really gorgeous. What I like best about these two matte browns in here is that even though in the pan they look really warm, on the eye they translate a lot more neutral, which I prefer because you can pair them with any of the shimmers in this palette and it will just work. It doesn't sort of overpower the look. The look is really just about the shimmers, and the mattes just sort of complement that no matter what. You can pair any color in here, in this palette. You can do whatever combination you want, and it just seems to work, which is really, really appreciated. Now, whenever I watched a Pat McGrath Mothership video, everyone always talks about these 4 special shades up here. They always say that they're the most amazing thing and they're totally unique. And I'm here to tell you that that is completely true. These shades here completely like justify the price of the palette. That's how good they are. They're just so beautiful and unique, and each one has a different texture. And the duochrome aspect of them, the completely smooth, foiled look they give, is just completely gorgeous. I mean, you saw in the swatches just how smooth and gorgeous and blingy they are. They translate that way on the eyes as well. It's so beautiful. So there is one shade in here which unfortunately I was a little bit disappointed in, and it's this shade here, Guilty Pleasure. Now in the pan it's really, really gorgeous. It's sort of this satin finish, taupey bronze shade. It's really beautiful because of the type of formula you could potentially use in the crease or on the lid. But this sort of just left me wanting more. It just wasn't as bold and as vibrant as most of the other shades in this palette. And when I swatch it, I'll do a live swatch here, I can still see my skin peeking through, and it just does not swatch half as well as the other shades. I'll swatch this one here just so you can see. I mean, that's such a terrible swatch, but there's really no competition. This one just never really swatched well, and when I would try to use it on the eye, it would just blend away into nothing. And so instead of using this shade here, I'll just use the 3 other mattes, and I can still get really beautiful, beautiful looks. But I just wanted to note that there was sort of one dud in the palette. I want to see how this palette actually works on the eyes. Just keep on watching because I've done demos for 3 different looks, so you can see how a variety of these shades actually apply and work on the eyes. So for all of these looks, I'm going to use the same concealer as my eyeshadow primer. I just find that a concealer works a lot better with the Pat McGrath shadows than an actual eyeshadow primer does. Just gonna tap that on and then blend it out with my beauty blender. So for this first look here, it's actually inspired by one of my favorite YouTubers, Morgan Turner. She is like the queen of Pat McGrath. She has like the best collection ever. But she always says that the best Pat McGrath looks you can do are when you just do a one matte color in your crease and then just layer on as many of the amazing shimmers as possible. So that's exactly what I'm going to do today. I'm just going to take the shade Entrapment on a Sonia G Blender Pro and dust that all over my crease just for a light wash of definition. And for this first look, I do want it to be more of that angled shape, so I'm going to blend that towards the sort of tail of my brow here. Using the very tip of that same Sonia G brush, I'm going to take the same Entrapment shade and then just focus that on the very outer corner here and sort of meeting it where I put that transition shade. I'm just going to take another layer of that shade just to intensify that brown color. Using a MAC 217, I'm going to take the shade Disobedient and then just pack that on the outer V. I also just wanted to note that when I am using these shades, I'm literally just tapping once in the pan because the mattes are really, really pigmented and I just want to err on the side of caution. So I'm just being really delicate and not picking up a ton on my brush and then just building in small layers. Now we've gotten to the fun part of the look. I'm going to take my Sonia G Builder 3, wet it with some MAC Fix Plus, and then go in with my favorite shade in the palette, which is Rose Gold 005. That's what it looks like on the brush. I'm just going to pack that right in the center. Deposit all the pigment down first, and then whatever's left on my brush, I'm sort of just going to pat it into the crease, just so you can sort of see a peak of that shimmer when I look straight on. So this is what it looks like using just a brush. I'll now just show you what it looks like when I dab a little bit on with my finger. You can see it just pops just that little bit more. So you can really use either a brush or your finger with these. Now using just this flat packer brush from Urban Decay, I'm going to pick up VR Fire Opal and then tap that sort of a little bit onto the rose gold shade and bringing it into the inner corner as well. Now using this Morphe M560 brush, I'm going to pick up Astral Lunar Gold and then bring that on the inner corner, layering it a little bit on top of the Fire Opal shade, but sort of focusing it more just on this inner duct part here. For the lower lash line, I'm going to take the Sonia G Mini Booster using Entrapment, which is the same first matte shade that I used on the eye, and then just work that into the lower lash line, smoking it out, connecting it to the top shadow there and bringing it into the inner corner. Now just going to dampen that same Morphe pencil brush with some Fix Plus and take the Astral Lunar Gold shade and then just tap that on sort of that lower tear duct area and meeting it to the very inner corner. So this is the completed eye look. I ended up doing a tiny bit of black liquid liner just to hide the lash bands, but overall I'm super happy with how this looks. I'll see if I can get some photos with flash or with better lighting so you can see the special shimmer shades more, clearly. But other than that, this is the first look. For the second look, I'm going to use the same Urban Decay concealer to prime. In this look, I really want to use the bright red shade, but I am just going to start off with a soft transition using that same Entrapment with the usual Sonia G Blender Pro. Because I really want this look to be warm and sort of really vibrant and bright, I just want to build up this Entrapment shade to get it as warm and opaque as possible, just so it can properly complement the red shade I'm going to put on the lid. So I'm just going to go in with another layer and really intensify that color, just so I can get the full color payoff and make it as warm and vibrant as possible. As you can see, the mattes just blend like an absolute dream. Other matte formulas that I've used, as you tend to layer them, they usually sort of become patchy, they leave streaks. With these ones here, with this particular matte formula, I have absolutely none of those problems. I can really build it up to get it as rich as I want without sacrificing, the smoothness of application. using a Wayne Goss number 18 brush, which is this sort of pinched crease brush. I'm going to take the shade Disobedient, just picking up a little bit on the brush to begin with and nestling that in right at the outer corner and working it in circles just to bring it up higher and higher with each pass. I don't want to take this as high as the Entrapment shade. I just want it to be a little bit more nestled into the actual natural crease of my eye. Using a Sonia G Builder Pro, I'm going to take the shade Blitz Flame and I'm going to pack this on the lid completely dry just so you can see the amazing opacity that it has. I mean, did you see that? This formula of this particular shade in the palette is so insanely saturated with pigment, and it's nice because it has that sheen, but it's not as glittery and metallic as some of the other shades. So you can almost use this shade as you would a matte. It sort of blends out to that really smooth matte finish. So as you can see, just there's nothing really else on this brush. And I'm just sort of taking the excess and working it into the crease, just so I can have that smooth blend. Just to diffuse some of the edges, I'm going to take a Wayne Goss number 20 and just sort of run it over the edges just to give it a really blown out look. I don't want any harsh lines, so I'm just taking the time to do really small circular motions and blend it all out. I'm now just going to take this pencil brush using the Astral Lunar Gold shade, and I'm going to use this sort of as an inner corner highlight and build it on top of that red just so I can layer the colors and layer the textures for a really dimensional look. And just to brighten up the inner corner a little bit more, I'm going to take that same pencil brush using the Skin Show Divine Glow colour and just popping it right in there. For the lower lash line, I'm going to take the Sonia G Mini Booster with the shade Entrapment to begin with and just smoke that all out. Taking a Morphe M213, which is this tiny little detail brush, I'm going to pick up the shade Disobedient and sort of smudge that as close as I can to the lower lash line. So this is the completed second look. I'm so happy with how this turned out. I absolutely love the red shade. I think it's so vibrant, but it's so easy to work with. And I like how the gold sort of pops in the inner corner. And I decided to pair it with a black winged liner. And yeah, I just really like how this turned out. But let's move on to the final look of the video. For this final look, I really feel like doing a halo eye, and I want to use the rose gold shade again, but also that nice deep purple that's in there, extreme aubergine. So I'm going to start off with Entrapment on the Sonia G Blender Pro as I have the other two looks, and I'm just going to dust this from like the outer right to the inner. Since it is a halo eye, I want that depth to be evenly distributed all across the eye. And I'm just going to go in with another layer of Entrapment, rounding it off, making sure the shape is nice and round. I'm going to start to bring it in really lightly on the outer corner and the inner corner to begin the halo effect. Now with a Sonia G Crease Two, I'm going to take Extreme Aubergine, and just with the very tip of the brush, I'm going to start it just at the outer corner, just sort of nestle it in there, do some small circular motions, and start to bring it into the crease, but keeping it really focused right in the crease. I'm not going to blow it out just as much just yet. I just want to make the motions really small and tight. I'm gonna go in with some more extreme aubergine with the same brush. Just doing the same small motions, but this time I'm gonna sort of follow it into the crease here and just build it up a little bit higher, just so front on you can see the purple a lot better. Using a Wayne Goss number 20, which is this really, really small brush, I'm going to take that into the inner corner and just sort of mimic the motions and the shape that I was doing on the outer corner. So I'm just going to nestle the brush right in there, and then I'm going to bring it into the crease and meet it with the top shade here. So I accidentally just forgot to press record, but what I did was just take a dampened Sonia G Builder 3. I dampened it with some Fix Plus, and I took the Rose Gold 005 shade, and I'm just packing it right on that blank space on the lid, and I'm going over a couple times just so I can get it really nice and foiled. Now using the Wayne Goss 20 brush, I'm going to take a little bit more of that extreme aubergine and just sort of blend out the edges, just so that rose gold color doesn't just look like a stripe down my eye. I want it to look really nice and just soft and ethereal looking. So I'm just doing really small motions to diffuse that color. Now I just want to add a little bit more sparkle to it, so I'm going to take Astral Lunar Gold on this flat brush and place that just right in the center of my eye, so like right over the pupil. For the lower lash line, I'm just going to mimic the same shape that I did on top. So I'm going to take extreme aubergine and just blend it down here. And I'm going to leave this middle space blank so we can put some shimmer there. So I'm just going to take the same little Morphe brush with the rose gold and just place that where I left that lower lash line blank. I have dampened my brush slightly just so it can adhere better. Okay, so this is the finished look. I sort of stuffed up the liquid liner on the top lash line, but that's all good. I am such a big fan of how this turned out. I think halo eyes are always so beautiful and so easy to do, and I just love purple. So this one is probably my favorite look of the video. So just to summarize my thoughts on this palette, if you haven't guessed it already, I am pretty much head over heels obsessed with it. I think from the actual packaging itself to the gorgeous colors inside is just a complete work of art. You can get so many different looks with this. That's what I was sort of nervous about, because usually I rely on matte shades to get a majority of my looks. But even though this only has 3 matte shades, you can still get a ton of different variety of looks, and each look you can create is completely unique. I think just the shimmers in here are what justify the price, because I know the price is so intimidating, but the shimmers in here are just out of this world, and I've never come across formulas like this. These 4 shades here are just top tier. They are so gorgeous. I wish I could have a whole 10-pan palette of these, but yeah, if you have been eyeing off this palette, I definitely recommend picking it up. I wish I picked mine up sooner. If you see it on sale, that would be a really great time to do it, or if you, like me, just want to treat yourself one day. But yeah, this is a big win with me. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this video really helpful. I hope it made you make up your mind if you were thinking of picking up this palette. And I really hope you enjoyed the looks I came up with, because I had so much fun making them. But yeah, I'm sure I will see you guys really soon. So take care.